There are stories that remind us why it's worth believing in miracles. Today, I want to tell you about Leandra, a little soul who taught me the true meaning of resilience and unconditional love. This isn't just a rescue story. This is the story of how a helpless creature, abandoned to her fate in the middle of a highway, refused to give up. Join me, because this story begins in the most unexpected place and in the most heartbreaking way you can imagine. It was a day like any other, on National Highway 115 in Siaka. The sun shone intensely, cars sped by at full speed, and life went on normally for everyone. Everyone except a little dog who had just lived the worst day of her existence. A car had run her over, and the driver simply continued on his way, leaving her lying in the middle of the street as if she were nothing more than a worthless object. She lay there on the hot asphalt, her little body shattered and her eyes filled with a terror that no living being should ever experience. She cried. She whimpered. "Please, someone help me, it hurts so much," those weak moans seemed to say. But no one stopped. Minutes passed like hours, and she remained there waiting for it all to end. That's when I saw her. Without thinking twice, I ran toward her, dodging the vehicles. My only thought was to reach her, take her in my arms, and tell her everything was going to be okay. When I finally reached her, I felt her little body trembling uncontrollably. Her eyes met mine, and in them I saw all the fear in the world, but also a tiny spark of hope. "Don't leave me, please. I don't want to die here," she seemed to beg. And I, with tears on my cheeks, whispered to her, "No, little one. You're safe now. I'm not going to let you go." I ran with her to the nearest veterinary clinic. My heart was pounding so hard, I felt it would burst from my chest. I couldn't believe what had just happened. Everything seemed surreal. Upon arriving at the clinic, the outlook wasn't encouraging. She was in critical condition. Her whimpers had become weaker. Even trying to get her to drink a little milk was almost impossible. The veterinarians immediately took her for X-rays. "Her bones are fractured in several places," the veterinarian explained with a serious expression. But that wasn't the worst part. Her bladder is ruptured. Urine is leaking into her abdominal cavity. She needs emergency surgery right now. There was no time to lose. There was only one decision to make, and that decision had already been made from the moment I took her in my arms. The night that followed was the longest of my life. While she was in the operating room fighting between life and death, I paced back and forth in the waiting room, unable to think of anything other than that little warrior. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the veterinarian came out. The surgery was successful. We managed to repair the bladder and stabilize the fractures, but the next few hours will be critical. When they let me see her, there she was, so small, so fragile, connected to tubes and monitors. Her head was bandaged, covering the severe wounds from the impact. But then, slowly, she opened her eyes. When her gaze met mine, I knew we were going to be okay. Her eyes had an incredible determination. "Thank you for not giving up on me. I want to live. I promise. I'll try with all my strength." I approached, gently stroked her head, and whispered, "Keep fighting, little one. I'll be here." In that moment, I understood something fundamental. This little soul was born to be a warrior. The following days were an emotional roller coaster. There were moments of progress and setback. Every small victory felt like a miracle. But nothing prepared me for what was about to come. One morning, approximately a week after surgery, I saw something I'll never forget. There she was, standing, on her 4 trembling little paws, but standing, and her tail wagged from side to side with an energy that seemed impossible. "No more pain. Look, I can walk. Thank you for saving me." Every movement seemed to shout with joy. I knelt beside her with tears on my face, and she licked my tears. In that moment, I knew I had given her the perfect name, Leandra. From that day on, Leandra's recovery was extraordinary. Her wounds began to heal remarkably. The fractures consolidated. Her fur regained its shine. But more importantly, her playful spirit emerged. She was no longer just a patient. She had become part of the family. I discovered that Leandra had the sweetest personality I had ever known. Despite all the pain she had experienced, despite the fact that humans had failed her cruelly, she held no grudge. Her capacity to love was infinite. She had all those qualities that make a dog worth loving: loyalty, joy, gratitude, tenderness, courage. Today, when I watch Leandra running through the garden, chasing butterflies with inexhaustible energy, my heart whispers, this is what hope looks like. This is what love can do. Sometimes Leandra approaches me with those bright eyes, and it's as if she's asking, "Do you remember me?" And I answer, "Yes, my love, I remember every second. And now I can tell your story with the happy ending you always deserved." Leandra's story is a reminder that miracles happen every day, but only if we're willing to be part of them. It's a testimony to the power of compassion, of taking action when others stand by. Every abandoned animal has a story that deserves a different ending. And sometimes all they need is for someone to stop, for someone to tell them, "You matter. Your life has value." If this story has touched your heart, if Leandra has taught you something about resilience and love, I ask you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we share stories of hope, rescues, and unconditional love. Every subscription helps us continue this work to rescue more animals like Leandra. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any story. Thank you for being here, thank you for believing, and thank you for being part of this beautiful community that knows every life matters.